So, hello there. My name is me, and today I do what basically every YouTuber has to do, and that's a reaction video. Yes, I have to go to I don't know. I have I have to do it like everyone's doing. No, it's not good for that because I don't know why. Anyway, so today I'm gonna react to Geography's Now to Geography Now Greece. As you can see, I have subscribed. I have seen this channel before. I have seen this video. I think I don't remember when. I tried to see it again. That was like the second attempt of reaction. I had another one that was successful due to my mom came a little bit more early. But anyway, um, so um, I probably will have the ah. I didn't see. Okay, great. Anyway, okay. Anyway, so I will gonna have the video in the description to you to see it if you want to see it without my commentary. And also thanks for the 550 subscribers. I'm probably gonna release a video tomorrow of that has to do with that, a special or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's start.
You're the one that I want. You're the one that I want. You're the one that I want. You get my reference, right? You get it? I'm so clever, right? Do you get my reference?
I think it is a movie.
It's time to learn geography now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Greece is sometimes seen as like the cradle and birthplace of European civilization and thought. So much of everything you see today has some kind of correlation to Greece. Pretty heavy for a relatively small country in the Balkans, eh? Yeah, let's find out how it all went down. So let's just jump into it. Greece is located in the southernmost part of the Balkan Peninsula that stretches into the Ionian, Mediterranean, and Aegean Sea.
I've seen this already, but technically that not sees Ionian or detect like kind of a smaller version of cis. They technically not really cis, but anyway. They're kind of subsea, we can say. Like they are all part of the Mediterranean Sea, so I don't know if you can say that they are divided. But anyway.
Sea is bordered by 4 countries in the north and east. The country is divided into 13 regions, 1 autonomous state that we'll talk about later, and the capital Athens.
That's I don't know about you, but I kinda don't like that map. Not when I say those regions, like they're kinda very interestingly divided in my opinion. Like this state here. Can you see this state? That thing is trash. Like as you can, as he will probably gonna talk later in this video. That those regions are completely are different regions in geographically speaking English. So I don't know, just kind of occurs to those three states being united. Also, why Athens? That's for why Athens controls those parts. Can please someone explain to me why they control those islands here and a part of of the Peloponnese Peninsula?
One of the oldest
Also, the Peloponnesus control kind of a part of Athens.
capitals in the world, where nearly 40% of the entire population.
Basically, they have also divided like in 3 regions. Okay, 2 regions, Macedonia, and the one has that one region, Eastern Macedonia. I think we call it. Is like a part of Thrace.
Lives. Now, despite the administrative makeup, Greece is generally divided into 9 geographic regions: Thrace,
Macedonia, Epirus, Thessaly, Central Greece,
this place that we already talked about, Thessaly, Epirus, Central Greece, the Ionian Islands, the Aegean Islands, and Crete. As you can probably tell from its makeup, Greece is one of, if not probably the, and Crete.
Why you have Castellos or something? Not Castellos. I don't remember. Ah, you have that island 2 times. What? Okay.
As you can probably tell from its makeup, Greece is one of,
Okay,
if not
probably
probably the most seafaring,
true.
marine-emphasized countries in the world. I mean, they do have the world's largest merchant marine fleet after Japan. And at any given
Interesting
point in
fact.
Greece, you are no more than 85 miles or 137
Probably
kilometers from the
true, to
sea.
be
Greece
honest.
has over 2,000 islands, only about 220 of which are inhabited, and about 4,000 extra islets,
Probably
keys,
true.
and sea
I don't
rocks.
know if
Even the
that's
ones that are
exact.
like right off the coast of Turkey. In
True,
fact, the
but
only two
probably
significant islands belonging to Turkey in the
inverse, like one of those islands who are not, who didn't become part of Greece, even if they do have a Greek population, like 20% of the population, I think, in inverse is like Greeks 25. I don't remember exactly how much,
Aegean
but
are Imbros or
yeah,
Kanachale and Tenedos or Bolsjada. Now keep in
okay.
mind, the Peloponnesian
I don't know
Peninsula is
about
not an
Canada.
island, it's actually just barely connected by the Corinthian Isthmus in the
Yes.
city of Corinth, which has a huge canal going through it. After independence from the Ottoman times, Greece was very
Mm-hmm.
intent on making sure they kept everything in the Aegean.
Fun fact about the Corinthian Isthmus. It was It was the
Just
canal.
barely connected by the Corinthian Isthmus in the city of Corinth.
The canal was actually created before even the Panama Canal, was probably, and I think it was created at the same time with the Suez Canal, or maybe older. I don't know. Maybe even the first, but I don't remember.
Which has a huge canal going through it. After independence from the Ottoman times, Greece was very intent
Yes.
on making sure they kept everything in the Aegean. This has historically led to some controversy from Turkey in regards to things like the delimitation of territorial waters,
So you said it. Wait a minute.
airspace, the executive
Let's
economic zone,
go
and the
like.
militarization of some of the islands. Nonetheless, they've been
So basically, the controversy is that after the Treaty of Sevres, if I remember, I think there was there are a lot of treaties between Turkey and Greece between 1918, no, no, between, I think 1918, no, not 18, I think 18, I don't remember, and like 1923 or something,
able to work stuff
a lot, like, I don't remember the names of them, to be honest with you.
out, kind of, but some things are
Yes.
still left in a gray.
Wait a minute, I didn't talk about the controversy. The controversy is basically that the islands in the Aegean are basically militarized, but later the those islands, the Eptanis, the seven islands as we call them in Greece, I think, if I remember correctly. Yes, I think yes, it's seven islands. Sorry, wait a minute.
Central Greece, the Ionian Islands, the Aegean
They're not like administratively speaking. But anyway, um, so basically, the controversy is that those islands joined Greece in like 1947 after the Italy gave them to Greece. There are a lot of Italians in that place. I have not personally go there, but there are some Italians there. But anyway, and basically, Turkey is saying, "Oh, we said after the Treaty of Sevres that the generals are demilitarized, but also those are demilitarized." And who and Greece says that no, those islands are not technically speaking in the Treaty of Sevres. They weren't included as they were at the time in the part in a part of Italy, who's technically the more right, you can say, but anyway.
everything in the Aegean. This has
That
historically led to
not only what, also there's like a
some
controversy
controversy
about
from
like,
Turkey in
I
regards
think
to things like the
he said
delimitation of
something about.
territorial waters, airspace, the executive economic land dispute they have over these two
That's
small
not really the only land dispute. First, I don't even have heard about those two islands before, to be honest. But there's like another land dispute, not like
some
what I
controversy
mean.
from Turkey in regards to
There's like some islands down here who are controlled by Greece, but Turkey is trying to claim them basically. What? What?
Diki and the third finger of territorial water land dispute about the one autonomous state. See this little
Yes.
guy right here, the third finger on the weird monster
The place what the people of my city, here is my city, Thessaloniki, always go
claw-looking peninsula? Well,
in
that
the
peninsula is
summer.
called Halkidiki, and the third finger is Mount.
By the way, not all the finger, there's not like there, who's supposed there. It's like there. Like I think we kind of seen it, like kind of like that, maybe that. But that those places are, there's like, I don't remember the, I have, what? Okay, that's like, that's like Konopoli, the dream city can is the best translation that I can give. It's like, I don't remember the name. Uh, with AI, it was starting, but I don't remember exactly. Yes,
Mount
anyway.
Athos. With a population of only about 2,000, Mount Athos, or Holy Mountain, is interesting because it's an isolated monastic
Yes,
state
it's
completely
true.
run by monks and priests. Getting in is a little tough. The number of daily visitors is restricted. You have to have a special
Wait, I want to see something just with the photo.
because it's an isolated monastic state completely run by monks and
Ah,
priests. Getting in is a little tough. The number of daily visitors is restricted, you have to have a special permit, and you have to be a dude. No women allowed. Although historically some women have either
yes, there are women who did go in.
accidentally or intentionally got in, including this former Greek beauty pageant winner. She dressed up as a man and snuck in. The three
The restrictions on women to go to the mountains has is kind of controversial, you can say, for obvious reasons. Basically, because the European law says that you are to go, you are able to go whenever in whatever place in the European Union you are able to, and the law basically says no, women are not allowed, and the law you understand what I mean? I mean the law allows everyone to go everywhere they want, not exactly everywhere we want, but you understand what I mean, and that the Mount Athos does not allow women is undeserved controversial because of that law. And not only because of that law, of
largest
course.
cities are, of course, Athens, the capital, Thessaloniki, and
Thessaloniki, my city.
Patras. However, the three largest
Patras like the city that nothing happens really. I don't know. Like the most I don't know. Nothing really has happened to Patras. Like it might like controversy because of uh, like crime or something sometimes or other stuff. In Athens, classic Athens, and Patras. I don't think something is really happening in Patras. I
and
don't know.
busiest airports are Athens, Heraklion on Crete, and then Thessaloniki coming in at third. Speaking of Crete, each inhabited island in Greece kind of has its own charm. Of course, there are too many things to list, but a few to
Yes,
consider might be things like Corfu being the most family-friendly island,
I have got Corfu. I don't
Delos is
have
known for
got
being the legendary
Omeros.
birthplace of Apollo,
I also think it was like the headquarters of the Athenian League and the start before the population was there's like a league, the Athenian League, basically a defensive alliance against the Persians, but basically in the start it was like not they wasn't really already was kind of equal, but slowly Athens just became of kind of the dictator, you can say. It just started to gain more power, and later it was Delos who was the leader, kind of the leader, the bank. I don't remember exactly. But later the Athenians took the bank or whatever it was. I don't remember. And for better protection, it was really to get more power over the alliance.
Skyros, and Hydra are kind of like the quiet
I
island.
have got two Skiros. I have Skiros as it's pronounced, and Hydra, not Hydra. I don't know how it's pronounced in English too. So quiet place,
Islands
it's
where more
true.
people use mules than cars. Rhodes once held the Colossus, one of the seven wonders
Yes,
of the ancient world. Cardia once tried to become its own country.
it was like a kind of like some months. Not the only island who tried to become independent. All it was like there was also Crete who was autonomous from 1918. No, nine. What? Not nine. I don't remember the. It was like for like 14 years autonomous. I should have Samos who was pretty much after almost from some years after the Greek Revolution happened, and then for like until Greece annexed it in like over 100 years. Like it was like autonomous region with some principality basically for like 80 years or
At
something.
one point in time. Naxos and Paros are known for being the
Yes.
windy islands, great for sailing and water sports. Santorini, with its ridiculously picturesque
Yes.
cliffside.
There are a lot of tourists in 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 Santorini, man. Why there are so many? Okay, nice place, beautiful indeed. There's like two volcano and not active volcanoes. In fact, the reason why the island looks like uh, a moon is because it was in the start not like it was like around later explosion happened like before thousands of years, and the half of the island was became underwater because of the volcano explosion.
White marble villas, and Patmos, the incredibly significant religious site in
Yes.
which Jesus' disciple John was exiled and wrote the book of Revelation. Speaking of which, Greece has more archaeological sites per capita than any other country in the
Probably
world, only
true.
ranks behind a few other countries like Turkey and Mexico in terms of overall sites. Now, we all know Greece is a tourist hotspot. Like France, more tourists than the entire population of Greece visit Greece every single year. Now, we all know about the Acropolis and the Parthenon, but other cool sites that stick
The
out
Acropolis and the Parthenon are the same thing, technically. So
include the Meteora Pillar Cliff Monasteries,
yes, pretty beautiful place. I have gone there.
the
Pretty nice.
Necromantion of Ephyra, the
No.
Oracle of Delphi, St.
Yes.
Theodora's Chapel with
No.
17 oak trees
Was yes and no. I mean, I have go to the
sprouting with
place.
no visible evidence of roots, the sculpted face on the shore of Nisi,
Oh.
the Chios former leper colony
Yes.
buildings, the palace of the Grand Master of the
No.
Knights of Rhodes, and of course hundreds and hundreds of other sites. There are too many to list.
The leper colony is like a pretty interesting place. A lot of people I had gone from my family. There's some family didn't like this place. I personally kind of liked it for some reason. I don't know.
And if you know of any,
It was
please write them down in
interesting.
the comments below and share. In the meantime, we gotta get down to the foundations of the country, the land. Now, there's an old Greek saying, when God made the world, he took the leftover rocks, threw them behind his shoulder, and that's how Greece was made. I kind of paraphrase that a little bit, don't quote me on
Okay,
it.
Too late. It's a quote now.
interesting.
Now,
It's a
Greece is
quote
funny
now.
because land-wise, they don't exactly score high on the Soil Performance Index, and overland transportation has always been an issue. But when you pretty much dominate the maritime trading sector, you can kind of turn a semi-arid rock zone into a flourishing agrarian hub. Wait till we get to the Israel episode. They've done quite an interesting job.
believe you spend so much money on business people. On the West Bank, I don't care what the West Bank. Talk about me. Talk about the
First of all, the country's about 80% mountainous on both the mainland Balkan region and the islands. Two main mountain chains form
That's kind of good that you saw Thessaly being mountains. Only like that part is mountains. That part here is not mountainous. It's like plains. I guess it's accurate to say this place is not. Also, there's some mountains here. So I don't know.
along the Balkan
Okay,
mainland,
I
the
have some
Pindus
problems
in the
with
west and the Rhodopes in the
map
northeast,
can-
Macedonia and Thrace regions. Right around the area where Thessaly
Yes.
meets Macedonia, you find Mount Olympus, the tallest mountain in Greece, notable for
Yes, I have got to Mount Olympus. I have in a village in the Mount of Limbo. In that mountain, I have family who lives there. My ancestors come from a village who is in Olympus, who is in the Olympus.
being the legendary home of the ancient Greek gods. Now, with the exception of small boats and canoes, almost all the rivers in Greece are non-navigable as they are too shallow. Nonetheless, the largest river,
Yes.
Aliakmonos, flows through the Pindus
Alcam-
range and eventually empties into the Thermaic Gulf right by the
Aliakmon.
Monster Claw. Also, Trichonida, the largest lake, can be found in the south.
I think I may be wrong about this, but I think it's a land made. It's not limited. Oh, no, I was wrong. That one. Also, there was like another lake here, but it was destroyed due to it was basically destroyed, you can say, by us because the world of Mysterious there was a really dirty, you can say, lake, so and it kind of had really local population, so we ended up destroying it, you can say.
Flows through the Pindus range and
But
eventually empties
it
into the
did
Thermaic
exist.
Gulf right by the Monster Claw. Also, Trichonida, the largest lake, can be found in the south-central Greek region. Beautiful, right? Well, it comes at a cost. Greece is one of the most seismically active countries
True, pretty truth was. There are a lot of there are a lot of like there are a lot of those problems. I personally have not seen something like that. I know that there are a lot, especially in other places. Like this. I personally have not experienced an earthquake here in Thessaloniki, even this kind of a how to say it, it's a earthquake region, but no, I personally no.
In the world, as it lies on two major tectonic plate zones, the North Anatolian Fault and the Hellenic Trench. This means that although frequent, earthquakes in Greece are relatively mild because they usually have epicenters that are in the sea, or Turkey just kind of takes the biggest hit. Greece gets about 250 days of pure sunshine a year. 7% of the world's marble mines are found in Greece.
I don't know if that's accurate, but maybe.
And they're also the third largest olive oil producer. Speaking of which, if you've never had Greek food, you are not allowed to die until you do. Popular dishes like moussaka, spanakopita.
I personally have not. I have tried spanakopita, and moussaka is pretty good.
The classic Greek salad, pita with gyros.
Pita with gyros is like gyros and souvlaki is like the top meat in Greece. Like a video got the video's name Got to Greece. It's like a mean video kind of, but it puts it so well, so colorless. It's like a really what's better, gyros or souvlaki? That's a big war or something.
The real kind, not that cheap, sleazy stuff down on 14th Street in which half of the meat is made of cornmeal. Nonetheless, agriculture only makes up about 4% of their economic output. Most of the revenue at over 80% comes from tourism and service jobs. Otherwise, some notable spots in nature would be places like the Vikos
I have not go to
Gorge, the Sami Cave in Cephalon.
My man had was there.
The Siri Culture Blue-Eyed Spring, volcanic rocks of Lemnos, Neda Waterfall.
Lemnos is like a desert kind of a desert.
Pozar Hot Springs.
Yes.
And so much more. In a nutshell, Greece is like a rocky, rugged, seafaring realm of merchant ships and olives. Could have said that like 3 minutes ago and skipped this whole segment. Well, on to the next.
Demographics.
Winston Churchill once said, Greeks don't fight like heroes.
Yes.
Heroes fight like Greeks.
Okay.
First of all, Greece has about 11 million people and
it's 10 million people now. It was like for a year, for like 1 year, 11, and then dropped to 10.
has one of the highest aging populations in Europe. The vast majority of the country, at about 93%.
That's not. I don't know if you can. That's really accurate because the Ponts are kinda not really. Okay, the Pontic peoples. Basically, they were for the region. They have gone to the region from the region of Pontus from Turkey. Yes, they are basically Greeks, but they're not exactly Greeks. You can say like when they first came in, there was a lot of racism against them, and today there is some way of racism against them. Not exactly Greeks. I don't know if you can consider them exactly Greeks, but okay, I don't have. I personally do agree that Greeks. You know what? Yeah, probably, but I don't know. Just saying. I think that this thing needs to be more explanation. Like there are some other Greeks, what Greeks, but not exactly Greeks. You can say like there are Cappadocian Greeks, Pontic Greeks, Cretan Greeks. You understand what I mean? They're kind of different, especially when we talk about the dialects.
Are made up of ethnic Greeks, and the remaining 7% are most.
Yeah, there are also Romanians. I myself happen to be a Romanian, and as Bulgaria.
Made up of other groups like Albanians, Gypsies, and Turks.
Yes, there are a lot of Turks in Thrace, yes, and in there are some Albanians in Cyprus, some others near Athens and Corfu.
They use the Type C and F plug outlets. They use the euro as their currency, although prior to the euro, they used the drachma, which was the oldest consistently used currency in the world. And they drive on the right side of the road. Now, pretty much anyone that has ever been to school at around age 12 will know how much Greek history has played a role in the Western world. The history is too long to explain it in detail, but in the quickest way I can put this, Minoans, Mycenaeans.
Yes, those people were not Indo-European, but they were Greeks. kind of. I don't know how you can say that about Greeks because they weren't Indo-European, if I remember correctly. They were like their own. You can say. I don't know. I have to check this out, but I don't think they are really Greeks exactly.
Tribes and city-states fighting against
I don't know if you can say they were tribes, but
Persians at Thermopylae, which is where Gerard Butler
it was like one time that we
came in and
two
did
times.
this.
Maybe.
Alexander the Great ushered in the Macedonian Empire.
Dude, he was
What?
Greek.
No, he's
no,
not
yes,
Greek.
yeah.
Led by this guy and
That's inaccurate. Wait a minute.
then there was classical Greece, Roman Greece,
Yes.
Byzantine Greece, Ottoman Greece, and then finally a revolution led by this guy.
That's inaccurate because Ioannis Kapodistrias was not part of the revolution. He later joined, but he didn't fight. First, he didn't fight. Second thing, first, he was. They invited him to become. He was the foreign minister of Russia, and they invited him to become the leader of the rebellion. He denied because he believed that it wasn't the time for Greece. Like, there were other revolts before that revolt, but we can ignore those in history, even in Greece. We can ignore them, even if some of them were kind of mental.
Guy in 1821 that started the modern version of Greece that we have today. Thanks to Alexander the Great,
it was like the governor of Greece called him today. So yes, it wasn't the guy who started. He refused to become the leader. He later became the leader because they again sent him the again invited him to go the leader. And by then Greece was in a lot of better situation. And he also was the foreign minister of Russia. So yes.
Continents experienced some form of Hellenization or the influence of Greek culture and language, and it went all the way down into the Byzantine era. This means at one point in time, even black Africans were speaking Greek, or at least the ancient Koine Greek language. It became so widespread that today almost every language in Europe invokes some kind of Greek origin in certain vocabulary. For example, in English, we have academy, telephone, grammar, and even geography. Not only that, but Greek has in one way or another been spoken for over 3,000 years, making it possibly the oldest consistently spoken and written language in the world. The Shang Dynasty.
I don't know about the
We could go on and on talking about Greece's explosively fascinating ancient history enshrined with legend, myth, wars, warriors, trade, alliances, gods, beasts, Sparta, sculpture, arts, leaders.
That was Ioannis Betaxis.
Philosophers, games, and interesting clothing options. Well, that'll take too long, and we gotta get through this episode. About 90% of the people in Greece adhere to Christianity, mostly in the Eastern Orthodox branch, just like many other countries in the Slavic.
That's not really like it because, yes, they are Orthodox, but not so good. They are not so much Christian. Like in Bulgaria, it's like 60%. In Russia, it's like also 60, 70.
If you've ever met a Greek person, you'll know that most of them definitely have a unique way of carrying themselves. Many of you Greek geographies, or as I like to call you, Geogra Greeks, have told me that the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding is actually kind of a pretty accurate representation of a typical Greek family upbringing. A little exaggerated, but nonetheless not far off. Big families with strong opinionated parents that you do not talk back to. There's always
maybe I don't know if I could agree with this, but anyway.
Always like a weird grandma mumbling something about the Turks, and
the grandpa is who's saying this basically.
One of the cousins is probably lighting something on fire as your brother is getting into a fight. But when grandma brings in the souvlaki and moussaka, everyone sits down and it's like a beautiful, warm Norman Rockwell painting.
That's not the but they basically. Anyway,
at least that's the picture you Geogra Greeks have painted for me. I don't know, how was that? Was that in the ballpark? So anyway, in Greece, voting is required by law, as is conscription for men ages...
No, they're not 16, I think it's like 18, in 16 in school.
16, yeah, that's right, 16. They get them while they're young. Up to 45 for a minimum of 9 months in service. Many people celebrate name day instead of their birthdays, in which they have a party on the day that pertains...
We do, but we also do celebrate birthday.
the patron saint that they got their name from. Land is kind of limited, so to save space, many of the dead have their bodies exhumed after 5 years of being buried, and then the bones are washed in wine and then placed in an ossuary. Retirement homes are incredibly rare, as most Greek grandparents typically end up living in their children's homes.
Yes.
Traditional music can be found everywhere. You'll probably hear a lot of lutes, mandolins, and tambourines. Traditional dances are alive and well. They all usually incorporate some kind of group number with fast-paced movements and jumpy actions. Oh, and old guys smoking while playing backgammon. There's always old guys smoking and playing backgammon. Avoid the offensive mutsa hands. And just like we studied in the Estonia episode, Greece has an influx of women, like a lot. Somewhere around 60-65% of the population is female. This may or may not be the reason why Greece is also the world's most... How can I put this in a non-crude and vulgar phrasing for our children viewers? Greece is the most hey.
Okay, I understand this.
Active country in the world. They even beat Brazil. Brazil. Interestingly enough, Greece also has the lowest divorce rate in the EU as well. Speaking of that, okay, let's talk about some numbers. Brutal, sometimes image tarnishing numbers. Let's just address the elephant in the room and get it over with, okay? Yes, Greece is in a little bit of an economic pickle right now.
Right now, it's not as economic, it's kind of social pickle. I know that it was before, like, 17, in like 2017. And like the Macedonian crisis, who returned in like 2019. Now there's the train crash, who has sparked a lot of protest. The railway unions have basically exploded against the government. It's not like strikes are extremely common now. I remember before 3 days I was like with a group or something, I don't know how to call it in English, and we were in Lefkospiros in the extent that it was like a march or something. A lot of marches happened over the last weekend. Kind of concerning, to be honest.
Basically, in a nutshell, back in 2001, Greece joined the EU. Long story short, they misrepresented their financial statements. They entered IMF and...
Who said there was basically, to join the euro, you should have some level of economic growth, some level of some stuff about the economy. Greece loud about that stuff.
ECB memorandum, and now the current generation is paying for all the fiscally irresponsible actions the previous one made, with things like hiked taxes as well as salary and pension cuts.
You know, son, back in my day.
Yeah, back in your day, you ruined my day. Greece also has the highest unemployment rate in the EU as well, with nearly a quarter.
Like a quarter of the population, not really. It was like 27% in 2013. Since then, it has dropped extremely. Like it's still 14%, who is still pretty big. But personally, who am living in Greece, don't have seen any difference in unemployment. I don't know. Maybe it was just nothing. So that unemployment dropped. I don't know.
Of the population seeking jobs. Nonetheless, as depressing as that sounds, Greece actually, interestingly enough, has the lowest suicide rate in the EU. Now, before we move on, here are some rapid-fire notable contributions Greece has made to the world. Inventions like the watermill, alarm clocks, lighthouses, the crane, construction levers, catapults, a crude steam engine, central heating, and technically the first robot. Concepts like citizenship, early democracy, atom theory, various fields of mathematics like geometry, advancements in disease study and medicine, philosophy, theater, dynamic sculpture and art, written history, trial by jury, and of course, the Olympics. Notable Greeks would probably include Eratosthenes, Leonidas, Pericles, Homer, Plutarch, Euripides, Pythagoras, Euclid, Archimedes, and Apollonius, Herodotus, and also...
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Yes, I'm gonna say he is Greek. Yes, he is.
Modern contemporary...
Yes, the guy who taught
like Konstantinos Karatheodori, who taught Einstein, singer Nana Mouskouri,
yes,
the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip.
Deep.
Yep, he's actually half Greek. Tommy Lee.
Technically, he's not half Greek. He's technically kind of half Danish. I don't know how you can say this. Like the royal house of Greece is technically Danish. It was basically.
Yanni, soccer players, Georgios Samaras, Georgios Karayunas, Konstantinos
Mitroglou,
this crazy guy who ran like 1,000 miles in 11 days, Queen Sofia of Spain, of course, America's Greek sweetheart,
He also is not even now.
John Stamos. Don't even try to get on this list. Okay, friend time.
Wait,
Stamos.
what?
Don't even
don't know who is this guy.
Try to get on this list. Okay, friend time.
I don't know who is this guy. I don't know.
Greece is really old, like, whoa, really old. They've planted so many shifting diplomatic ties throughout the millennia that it's ridiculous. In a nutshell, though, they generally get along pretty well with other Orthodox countries, mostly in Eastern Europe, as theology and doctrine have always tied them in one way or another. Of those Orthodox countries, Serbia is probably hands down the closest childhood friend. Serbians are like the next door neighbor that they grew up with, asking if Greece could come out and play ball. Nonetheless, you don't have to be Orthodox to roll with Greece.
Probably the only nation that Serbia accepts Montenegro. Likes in the Balkans, except like Montenegro and Romania.
Love the Spanish and Italians almost as much. Each country shares a similar Mediterranean seafaring culture that has historically tied them for thousands of years, although each claim that they have the best olive oil.
It's true that the Italian culture and the Greek culture is pretty much not the same, especially the South Italians. Not the same, but pretty similar.
Greeks have even adopted certain Italian words in their vernacular, like una fazza, una razza, one face, one race. And as mentioned before, Armenia is kind of like the exotic apostolic girlfriend they've been dating since like the 3rd century AD.
I think like Greece and Armenia is more connected to each other than Greeks and the Slavs. If I remember correctly,
Turkey is kind of
or at least the language, maybe.
Like the whole Japan-South Korea thing, in which historically they've had a lot of drama because, you know, Ottoman times, but they love to visit and piggyback off of each other's cultures. Today, there is virtually no tension between everyday citizens.
Not exactly true, but okay.
They've moved on, mostly, and sometimes it's even hard to distinguish a Greek person from a Turk just by looking at them. But make sure you do not make the mistake of mislabeling them. That's a huge no-no. When it comes to their best friend, though, almost every geographer Greek told me Cyprus. Many Greeks don't even really see Cyprus as a separate country, but rather just an extension of Greece. They love their little brothers with funny accents and would do anything for them. In conclusion,
it's true. A lot of people see Cyprus as pretty much Greek, like the Greek brother kind of. The Cypriots as the Greek Cypriots pretty much Greeks. There was a lot of attempts of uniting those two places, Cyprus and Greece. They weren't successful. But pretty much, they're pretty much the same.
Make up about 132,000 square kilometers, but has been the standard source of inspiration for so much of the Western world. The fact is, today, you can look around and see how much of our modern society has been in some way, shape, or form molded by something Greek. Kudos to you, Greece. And by the way, kudos is a Greek word. Stay tuned, Grenada.
Grenada. Anyway, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed. And that was it. Goodbye.